Hey, what's up, guys? It's Michelle, back at you with another video. In this video, most likely, we're going to read another 2 chapters. So we're probably going to read chapters 6 and 7. If we keep going on this way, there's only going to be 11 episodes of this series. But, I guess it's okay, you know. I feel like it's better to have, like, over 10-minute videos than it is to have, like, 5-minute videos. So, let's get right on into it. Chapter 6. Rebel Roll Call. While the cauldrons provided a background melody of crackling and popping, Mr. Badwolf tapped his finger on the clipboard. His fingers were furry, and his nails were long and black. They looked like claws. He seriously needed a manicurist at the Tower Hair Salon. Roll call. First off, Faybelle Thorne. The girl sitting next to Duchess slid off her stool. Here, she said. Here, she said in a serious way. Duchess didn't know this girl. In fact, she'd never seen her before. She was dressed in a midnight blue leggings and a shimmering tunic. I am so happy to be here. I've been waiting for this class my entire life. As she smiled at Mr. Blackwolf, a pair of little iridescent wings unfurled from her back. Duchess frowned. The girl was a fairy, but not the small kind who worked throughout the school and lived in the enchanted forest. Human-sized fairies could be seriously wicked. I admire your exuberance, Miss Thorne, but an overflowing exhibit of happiness is not evil. Faybelle stopped smiling. You have been selected for this class, Miss Thorne, because your mother is the dark fairy who cursed Sleeping Beauty. Would you like to tell the class a little bit about yourself? You bet. Faybelle pulled a pair of pom-poms from her backpack, then cartwheeled to the front of the class. Faybelle, that's the one. She's the one who makes evil fun. Each time she jumped, her little wings beat the air. Give me an E. Give me a V. Give me an I. Give me an L. What's that spell? No one answered. Faybelle floated a foot off the ground. Come on, team. Where's your ever after spirit? What does that spell? It spells evil, Duchess said. Faybelle blinked her fairy eyes. Then she flew over to Duchess and floated in front of her. I wasn't asking you, because you don't belong in general villainy class. Duchess shrugged. Despite the fact that she was being snotty about it, Faybelle was making her point for her. Your snarkiness is appreciated, Miss Thorne, Mr. Badwolf said as he wrote on his clipboard. Extra credit for you. Faybelle smirked at Duchess, then returned to her stool. But not before aiming fairy dust right up Duchess's nose. Duchess sneezed, but it came out as a honk. Mr. Badwolf ran his finger down the clipboard. Next up is Gingerbread House. Here. Ginger stood and waved to everyone. Her pink hair was tied into ponytails, and all the embellishments on her dress made her look like a decorated cookie. Ginger has been selected for this class because her mother is the candy witch who tried to eat Hansel and Gretel. Would you like to tell the class a little about yourself? Everyone already knew Ginger. She did a mirrorcast show called Spell's Kitchen, during which she made fabulous desserts. Ginger walked to the front of the class, a box tied with yellow ribbon in her hands. I just want to let you know that even though my mom tried to eat some kids, I would never do that. Her eyes twinkled beyond her pink glasses. Behind, I swear, what's this with me and switching beyond for behind? I got some problems. Behind her pink glasses. I love to cook, but none of my recipes call for boys or girls. She tugged on the yellow ribbon, then opened the box. The scent of pure deliciousness filled the air, sweet and cinnamon spicy. It was a welcome relief from the weird cauldron odors. I baked these for everyone. They are miniature cinnamon trolls. She handed one to Mr. Badwolf. White icing dripped off the troll-shaped pastry. He wolfed it down in one bite, then smacked his lips. Even though it contained no raw meat, it was delicious, he reported. Ginger smiled proudly. However, delicious is not evil, Mr. Badwolf wrote on the clipboard. I am very disappointed in you, Miss Breadhouse. Next time you bring treats for the class, I select that they be poisonous. You get a DG for your first day. What's a DG? Duchess asked. They didn't have that grade in the other classes. DG stands for do-gooder, Mr. Badwolf said. DG is the worst grade you can get in general villainy. Some would argue that it is even worse than a fairy fail grade. He grabbed another troll. With a confused look on her face, Ginger returned to her stool. Next up we have Lizzy Hearts, Mr. Badwolf said. Here, Lizzie had been feeding Shuffle a piece of cinnamon troll. Miss Hearts has been chosen because she is the daughter of the atrocious Queen of Hearts. I have great expectations for her, but I have heard a rumor that she's trying to control her temper. Is that true, Miss Hearts? Yes, Lizzie replied. Mr. Badwolf raised his bushy eyebrows. I mean, no. She jumped from her stool. I would never try to control my temper. Someone is spreading fables, and that makes me very, very angry. She kicked over her stool. Her face turned as red as her shoes. It was a brilliant tantrum, but Duchess knew the truth. Lizzie wanted to be an angry queen as much as Duchess wanted to be a permanent swan. Most excellent, Dr. Badwolf said as he wrote on the clipboard. Lizzie grabbed the stool, uprighted it, and sat back down. As she dabbed sweat from her upper lip, she gave Duchess a questioning look. She played her role, but what would Duchess do? Next up is Sparrowhood. Sparrow sat slouched in his stool. A guitar leaned against his leg. He was dressed in mossy forest colors. His stud vest matched his studded boots. His chestnut hair hung over his eyes, which were closed. Sparrow, Lizzie nudged him. He bolted upright. Dude, I was trying to sleep. Mr. Badwolf tapped his long nails on the desk. Mr. Hood, villains do not sleep. Villains disrupt the sleep of others. Keep that in mind. Sparrow yawned, then scratched his soul patch. Haven't you heard of chilling like a villain? I was up all night practicing my riffs. Sparrow was the lead singer and guitarist of a band called the Merry Men. Mr. Badwolf growled, Your riffs will not earn you an A in this class, Mr. Hood. Total bummer. Well, maybe I don't want to earn an A, Sparrow said with a shrug. Why am I here anyway? My old man wasn't evil. You are here because your father, Robin Hood, was a notorious thief. Thievery is an excellent trait in a villain. And there are times when you appear to have the appropriate attitude, Mr. Badwolf said. But because your father used his thievery for good, there was great debate among the facility whether you should be in this class. You have much to prove, Mr. Hood. Proving stuff sounds like way too much work, Sparrow said. My guitar and I have better things to do. Then he lowered his hat so the brim shaded his eyes. Was he going to nod off again? Duchess squirmed. This class seemed like a waste of time, and the roll call had been a total disaster. So far, only one student actually wanted to be a villain. Sparrow didn't even care what grade he got. How could he not care about something as important as that? Our next student needs no introduction, Mr. Badwood said. He looked straight at a girl who sat in the corner, hidden in the shadows. "Oh, I know who it is." The room went silent. Even the cauldron stopped bubbling. The girl suddenly stood and stepped into the light. "Oh, it's my girl! It's my girl!" She was tall and imposing, with ebony hair that cascaded down her back. Her purple skirt matched the purple highlights in her hair and was covered in a filigree lacework. Her eyes were as dark as a raven's, hence her name. "Hi," she said with a frown. "Well, I'm sure we all know why I'm in this class." Raven Queen was the daughter of the infamous sorceress, the Evil Queen, who tormented royals from one kingdom to the next, including Snow White. Raven's mother was so evil that she went beyond her own story and invaded Wonderland, infecting its madness. And that was the reason why Lizzie hadn't been home in a very long time. But Raven Queen had recently become notorious for something that had nothing to do with her mother. Raven was the leader of the rebels, a growing group of students at Ever After High who dared to question their destinies. This had been the case ever since Legacy Day, when Raven had refused to sign the Storybook of Legends. It was normal to ask questions about the future. Duchess asked plenty of questions, but she did this privately, in her diary. To be a royal meant to have pride in one's heritage and to take one's role seriously. The rebels didn't seem to care about tradition. They chose to act in ways that went against their destinies. But if they didn't live out their destinies, their stories might disappear forever after, which affected everyone. Raven had refused to sign her name in the Storybook of Legends on Legacy Day. This had never happened before. Never. And now, all kinds of characters thought that they could be free to live whatever life they pleased. Raven was to blame. She was selfish, in Duchess's opinion. "Raven shouldn't be in this class," Faybelle said, loudly. She'd taken the words right out of Duchess's mouth. "She doesn't have the right to be a villain anymore." Raven didn't defend herself. She stood with her shoulders slouched, as if she carried the burden of her family legacy on her back. "I guess there's no use in asking for a transfer." "If she gets a transfer, then I should get one too," Duchess said. "There will be no transfers," Mr. Badwolf barked. "Despite Mrs. Queen's recent decision to lead a rebellious uprising." "Hey, I'm not leading an uprising," Raven insisted. "I'm not telling other people what to do. If they choose to question their destinies, then that's their decision." Duchess sneered again. Maybe Raven wasn't giving speeches about rebelling, but she was leading by example, and actions were much more powerful than words. The fur on the back of Mr. Badwolf's neck bristled. "Don't huff and puff at me," he told Raven. "The facts are indisputable. You carry more evil in your bloodline than the rest of the students combined. The faculty and the headmaster are hopeful that you will change your mind and embrace your destiny." He pointed to a large wooden sign that hung on the wall. "Thou shalt not stray from thy story." After a long, heavy sigh, Raven slid back in the shadows. Mr. Badwolf picked up the clipboard and read, "The last student on the list is Duchess Swan."